Alright, here we go. We got the first of the top 10 videos. Get excited. Hello, once again, readers of good books. My name is Nick Pell, and this is once again coming from my white room. Now, I am going to be doing the top 10 books that I have read during 2014. This was a much slower year for me in terms of book reading. There weren't nearly as many book reviews as there have been in the past, but I still did read at least over 10, so that's an accomplishment, I suppose. So I've narrowed them down to the top 10 of books that I enjoyed, and so let's get started with it. Number 10 is a book that I reviewed and read a couple months back, and it is Derek Foote's Kringle. This is a book which retells the story and origins of Santa Claus, kind of. And it's a very cool fantasy novel. The ending I had a tad bit of issue with, but as a whole, it develops this fantasy world really, really well. I really got into it as I read it, and it's a very well done book, and it's definitely my number 10 for 2014. Number 9 is one of the horror books that I read, and I read it towards the beginning of the year, I believe, and it is Stephen King's Carrie. This is a book which I have heard a lot about. It was Stephen King's first book that he wrote. It follows the story of Carrie White and her mysterious powers that she comes to learn how to control and use, and it's a very, very cool book. It's a very interesting science fiction-y book. You could see it like that very easily, and I just really, really like this book. It's easily one of my favorite books of 2014 and easily deserves a spot as my number 9 choice. Number 8 is the first of 2 books by an author that's going to appear on this list, and it is John Green's The Fault in Our Stars. The film came out earlier this year in June. I went and saw it and I enjoyed it, but this is the book. This is the first John Green novel that I read, and so it was the first introduction into this guy's writing style that I was introduced to, and I really, really enjoyed it. I really liked the story and the areas that it dives into and revolves to cancer and fatal illnesses, and just how people react to those things and how emotionally tied a person can be to someone in that situation. And it's just a really heart-wrenching book, especially towards the end, and it's just very, very well written, and I definitely recommend it. It's definitely deserving of my number 8 spot. My number 7 choice is a book whose author will appear again on this list, I guarantee you, and it is James DeSantis' Sparks. This is the first book in what will soon be a vast superhero series. He is working on it right now. I am writing a book for it. That's exciting. And it follows the exploits of Ethan Hamill. He gets struck by lightning and he develops superpowers. It's not like the Flash. He has electric powers and he uses them for good while also having a side story in which he deals with having cancer. And so the book takes place over the course of a year. It's the last year of this guy's life. And it's very heart-wrenching, it's emotional, and it's a very, very cool look at how to do a superhero novel. And it sets up this world really, really well. I'm really excited to see where this goes. So, James DeSantis' Sparks, definitely my number 7 choice. Number 6 on this list is a book that I also read closer towards the beginning of the year, and it is Richard Matheson's I Am Legend. This is the original version of the film starring Will Smith back in, I think, like 2007, 2009, and it's really, really different. It has the same general premise. The world is basically gone and extinct from humans except for one person, Robert Neville, and he has to basically survive in a world filled with vampire-like creatures, and it's very, very cool. It's a very interesting look. The ending is completely different than the movie. The story is completely different from the movie. It was really engaging. I really found myself getting into it. It has a very interesting twist towards the end, and I just really, really like this book, and so it was my number 6 spot on this list. Now we are in the top 5. These are books which made me laugh, they made me cry, and they made me get really, really excited about the stories I was reading. Number 5 on the list is Ali Brosh's Hyperbole and a Half. This is a book which I just randomly stumbled upon in my school's Barnes & Noble. It looked hilarious. I bought it, and it was easily one of my favorite books of the year. It's got a plethora of different stories written and drawn in a very unique format. It's very hilarious. I highly recommend checking this out. If you have not already, it will definitely give you a really good time. It has a very interesting message in some of the stories, and others are just there for pure laughs. It's very well done, and it's highly recommended. Definitely deserving of my number 5 spot. Number 4 is another James DeSantis novel called Killing Your Boss. I mentioned in my review of this book that I would have put this on my 2013 top 10 list of books, but it came out like really early in January. So it is on this list, and it's very deserving of that. It's one of his first really good horror stories that he did. It has a very interesting twist. It's very disturbing in some parts, and it is a book which has a sequel of some sort. I'm not going to say which book. You'll have to read his stuff to find out which, but it's very, very cool. It's a very interesting premise. 3 kids being kidnapped by a crazy person and just trying to escape with their lives, and seeing what unfolds over the course of one night. Killing Your Boss by James DeSantis, definitely deserving of my number 4 spot. Now we're in the top 3. We have 3 really, really good stories which stuck with me, and stories which I still think about in my head to this day and bring back the feelings that they imposed on me. The number 3 spot on this list goes to J.D. Salinger, his Catcher in the Rye. This is a book which I have been wanting to read for a very long time. I read it very early in the year. Obviously, I've read a lot of books really early in the year, and it just really got to me. It's a great coming-of-age story. It follows the events of one night in this boy's life, just roaming around the city, and it's a very interesting look at society. It's just a very, very cool book. It stuck with me. The message really resonated with me, and it's just very, very neat. It's about finding yourself, and just a bunch of stuff that I really, really got into. So, J.D. Salinger's The Catcher in the Rye, definitely deserving of my number 3 spot. If you have not read this classic, definitely check it out. The number 2 spot on this list is, I guess, another book that I read early in the year. I did a lot of reading early in the year, I'm realizing, and this is the last James DeSantis novel on this list, and it is Exterminator's Shadows. I had his first book on the 2013 list. This next one is definitely deserving of being on this list. There is a twist about 2/3 of the way through, which I did not see coming, and just kickstarted the book for me right from that point onward, and I'm really excited to read and dive into his 3rd book, which should be coming out sometime this spring, and I'm just really excited for it. If you have not read this series, he has 2 books out so far, and they're very, very well written, really, really engrossing stories, very cool science fiction-esque things, and it's just really, really neat to read them. So, James DeSantis' Exterminator Shadows is definitely my number 2 book that I've read in 2014. And now we come to the book which left a mark on me, which really had a twist which I did not see coming from a mile away, which brought me to tears many times in the story. And it's a book which deals with depression and death and many different things, and it is John Green's Looking for Alaska. This is the movie that I want them to make after Paper Towns, and I think they are going to. And it's very, very good. It follows a boy named Pudge who ends up at a boarding school. He meets friends, and one of the people that he meets is this girl named Alaska, who he just falls in love with right away, and something happens halfway through the story which I did not see coming, and it's very, very sad and cool, and this book just really got to me more than anything else that I read this year. Is gripping. I could not put it down. I literally, I think, read the second half of this book in one day, and it's just really, really good. If you have not read this story, if you haven't read any of John Green's stories, read this one, because it is definitely my favorite out of the 3 that I've read so far, and nothing can beat it this year. So my number 1 spot goes to John Green's Looking for Alaska. Definitely check this out if you have not already. So that is my list for the top 10 books that I have read in 2014. I obviously did not read a lot of things this year, unfortunately. I'm hoping to try to fix that next year. Not being in school for the second half of the year will kind of help, since I'll graduate in spring. Hopefully I will do a lot more book reviews upcoming in the next year. I really hope to, along with everything else that I've been doing. So look forward to that. But those are just my books that I really liked for 2014. Let me know what you guys read in 2014 down below in the comments. What was your favorite thing that you read? Did you agree with anything on this list? Did you disagree with anything on this list? Let me know in the comments down below. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Once again, if you so choose, I'd appreciate it immensely. And as always, my people, my name is Nick Pell. And once again, keep on reading.